Park Avenue Synagogue has an amazing history.
You can't help but feel that history. You're part of something greater.
It's rooted in tradition.
This is something that's been around for generations.
When you join Park Avenue Synagogue, you're joining a story that is much bigger than you.
In 1882, a group of German Jews in Manhattan's Yorkville neighborhood joined together to create a Reform synagogue that would become known as the Park Avenue Synagogue. Nicknamed the Little Temple by some of its congregants, the synagogue had a choir and an organ. Formal services were conducted in German and the prayers in Hebrew. Though its initial location is unclear, within a year the synagogue had moved to East 86th Street.
Park Avenue Synagogue is actually an amalgamation of 5 different synagogues that joined over the years. We say we were founded in 1882. The truth is, like most Jews on the Upper East Side, we're a lot older than we want to admit. The entire Carnegie area was a Germanic Alsatian population at the time, a lot of beer breweries in this area, things of that sort.
In the roaring 20s, the synagogue, with a strong clergy and a vital lay leadership, built a beautiful new Moorish-style temple on East 87th Street off Madison Avenue. Despite the new address, the name Park Avenue Synagogue would remain. But the Depression would sorely test the synagogue and America.
During the Depression, they didn't pay the rabbi for quite a number of years. There was a president at the time by the name of Jacob Friedman who really, through his vision, kept the place together.
A dynamic new leader was soon brought in to head the congregation, and because Milton Steinberg was not a Reform rabbi, Park Avenue Synagogue would henceforth be conservative.
Balancing that line of tradition and change, which is really the hallmark of conservative Judaism, Park Avenue Synagogue served this community and served American Jewry in critical moments. Rabbi Steinberg of blessed memory spoke on behalf of the Jewish community both as the clouds of Nazism were rising over Europe as well as the establishment of the Jewish state in 1948.
Following the untimely early death of Rabbi Steinberg, the synagogue would be led by Rabbi Judah Nadich, who presided over a period of tremendous growth and further social transformation.
Rabbi Nadich was Eisenhower's rabbi who was there at the liberation of the camps.
Rabbi Nadich tipped the synagogue into more activism.
We have found perhaps a new leader, Reverend Luther King.
I may not get there with you.
Tonight he lies dead as a result of that violence which he hated. His influence will be great in death, even as it was in life.
Rabbi Nadich's stewardship through a period of social tumult was followed by 2 decades of calm and steady leadership from the British-born Rabbi David Lincoln, who would guide the congregation through the difficult days after another national tragedy.
After 9/11, we had an interfaith memorial service. There was not a single seat available. One of the most moving, incredible events I've ever seen in my life.
Upon Rabbi Lincoln's retirement, a young new rabbi was brought in from Chicago's Anshe Emmett Synagogue, Rabbi Dr. Elliot J. Cosgrove.
We have a world-renowned rabbi who just has an unstoppable vision.
He not only inspires us as a community, is really at the forefront of Judaism in North America.
Rabbi Cosgrove personally has so much to do with the renaissance that we are experiencing here.
We're serving our membership through their lives, life cycles, happy and sad events. In that sense, we're a very traditional synagogue. Performing a mitzvah is a proud transformation of the universal self into a Jewish self. And we are also shaping conversations for American Jewry. A synagogue should be about making the old new and the new sacred, which is a turn of a phrase attributed to Rav Kook.
What we're trying to do is pass our tradition down from one generation to another,
le dor vador. And in order to be able to do that, we have to take our tradition seriously, but we also have to make it exciting and new so that the younger people want to grab onto it and run with it.
Music has been the heart of this congregation for over 100 years. You name the composer, they've been here. They wrote music for the synagogue.
As illustrious as the rabbis have been, so too the cantors of Park Avenue Synagogue. Cantor David Lefkowitz served for over 30 years. And in 2011, cantor Ozzy Schwartz was brought in from Israel, cementing the synagogue's status as a global hub for Jewish music.
Ozzy takes cantorial leadership to a new level.
Composition, execution, involving the community, bringing new musicians, bringing in traditions beyond Jewish traditions so that music speaks to everyone.
We are the place that preserves the cantorial traditions and is in the process of writing the canon of Jewish music for the generations to come.
We have the best cantor in the world.
Do you have a favorite song?
If you come to services today, you will hear old melodies, you will hear new melodies, you will hear ancient Hebrew, and you will also hear some songs in English.
What's your favorite song to sing?
Probably any kind of Queen song.
We engage with people. We want to connect their experience here at the synagogue to what's happening in their lives.
We've enjoyed explosive growth over the last 10 years.
We were bursting at the seams. We were literally renting space all over the neighborhood.
The thriving, vibrant nature of our community was not being matched in the physical infrastructure. Our welcoming area was not welcoming or warm. Our entertaining space was dated.
The building had not been renovated since 1981. That modernization was hailed by the New York Times as bringing classical dignity to Madison Avenue and an act of civic generosity.
Steve Friedman was the start. He's the one who heard the message.
I have surely seen the affliction of my people, and I have heard their cry.
If Steve Friedman was Moses, bringing us right to the entry of Israel, Art Penn was Joshua.
The chairman at the time, Steve Friedman, asked me as treasurer to chair a committee on our space needs.
We were 12,000 square feet short of space.
Something had to be done.
The catalyst for the capital campaign came when this beautiful townhouse on 89th Street became available.
Andy Baumlesnik, or as we say ABL, took us through the whole process of raising probably the greatest amount of money since the building of the original temple 2,000 years ago.
We had participation from 97% of our member families.
It was critical that the building reflect that same commitment to tradition and change.
The Gottlieb windows have become a unifying aspect for our campus, and they've been the one steady factor through all the construction.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
And now we can start phase 2, which was renovating our 87th Street building.
How do you maintain the feeling of community when you've lost your home?
We journeyed together in the wilderness.
We got everyone to a temporary location on 90th Street. We held a year of our early childhood center off-site.
The staff had to all move out and all move back in, and it was incredibly challenging for them to keep doing their day-to-day work, but they did an amazing job.
In the midst of the renovation project, we decided one way to help keep the community together is to take a trip to Israel. And we brought 450 of our members in the largest congregation trip ever.
It was really an extraordinary statement about our community's connection to Israel.
In addition to Israel, the synagogue has recently journeyed to Berlin, Prague, Budapest, Cuba, Russia, and Lithuania, all part of repairing the world.
What we've accomplished here is quite staggering, but these four walls are not what defines us. It's our commitment to our values and our community and the generations that follow.
We're not having a few good years. This is who we are.
This is our way to pay it forward to the next generation.
What we really have done is create a space to grow for the future.
I hope that we're sparking the next generation to engage Jewishly in their own way, and then in their time, they will take this and run with it.
After beginning with fewer than 100 families, today the synagogue stands 1,740 families strong, with hundreds of committees involved in every aspect of Jewish life, building community here and abroad. Park Avenue Synagogue may be 137 years old, but its values remain unchanged from its modest beginning to becoming a vibrant and influential community. Park Avenue Synagogue seeks to inspire, educate, and support its members to live passion-filled Jewish lives.
We can always, as human beings, reinvent ourselves. The success of Park Avenue Synagogue is not about the physical architecture, it's about the spiritual architecture, a community that meets people where they are and shows and inspires people where they want to be. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hatov v'hametiv. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who is good and does good. Let's open up our booklets. We are on page 7. From the beginning, you are and have been the source of all that is good, and God saw all that had been created and found it to be very good. Read with me together. You saw our isolation and invited us to be in relationship with one another. As God said, it is not good for humankind to be alone. I will make a fitting companion for them.
You shielded our ancestors from harm, giving them lives of meaning and purpose. And Abraham breathed his last dying at a good ripe age, old and contented. Please read with me. You blessed our ancestors with abundance, making us a great nation. Seeing her children, Leah proclaimed, the gift that God has given me is good.
You delivered our ancestors from hardship, keeping your promise of redemption. And God spoke to Moses, saying, I have come to rescue them from the Egyptians and bring them to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Together, so now we may live in abundance and prosperity, a testament to your benevolence, as Balaam declared, how good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. If you're able, I invite you to please rise for Ma Tovu on page 8.
Hey Let's give a warm welcome to our chairman, Mark Becker.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Park Avenue Synagogue's once-in-a-generation moment. We gather today proud of what we've accomplished as we officially celebrate and rededicate a revitalized 87th Street building. We are here today because of years of inspiring vision, hard work, and a committed community. This afternoon, is also a reflection of Park Avenue Synagogue's 137-year history. For generations, Park Avenue Synagogue has accepted the responsibility of leadership in the conservative movement and in the diaspora, leading to bold expansionary moves. This sanctuary was dedicated in 1927 and was known as the $1 Million Building. It was an ambitious endeavor for the then 240 members. Jacob Friedman, Park Avenue Synagogue president at the time, promised to hold the key of this building until the mortgage was paid off, which despite the Great Depression, it ultimately was. I think Beryl has the key. In the 1950s, addressing the shortage of space, another generation acted, purchasing the building immediately west of the sanctuary, creating a new structure to house the religious school and other activities. In the dedication ceremony in 1954, one of the speakers said that the new building was a place to pass on to our children the traditions of their fathers and mothers. The New York Times, who hailed the effort as an act of civic generosity, reported 2 years later that the immediate effect of the new structure was an increase in attendance at services. The next adjacent building was acquired in the late 70s, bringing the Park Avenue Synagogue footprint all the way to Madison Avenue. The new connected building satisfied the need for more space for learning and community activities. In that 1980 dedication, Chairman George Shapiro explained that the building was his generation's response to the Holocaust and was the ultimate triumph over the forces and darkness of evil. Our own time is marked by the decline of organized religion and the questioning of the role of synagogue. As a vibrant Jewish community and synagogue bucking the trends, we also had a decision to make. In Rabbi Cosgrove's 2018 Rosh Hashanah sermon, he stated, "Years from now, our children and grandchildren and our history books will ask what we did in this decisive hour." Our generation has made its decision. We have chosen to add another bright new chapter in our congregation's history. I was ironically reminded of this on April 15th, 2019, a moment that our friend and guest, Cardinal Dolan, knows all too well. The image being broadcast was the burning of the magnificent centuries-old Notre Dame. And perhaps because we're in the midst of our own new construction project, my thoughts went to how much effort must have gone into creating what was being destroyed. Notre Dame took nearly 200 years to complete, with most of the builders dedicating their entire lives to a structure neither they nor their great-great-grandchildren would ever pray in. They didn't do it for themselves. they knowingly and willingly created for those that were to come. That is what our once-in-a-generation moment is truly all about. In last year's Hanukkah sermon, Rabbi Cosgrove said, "We are all contributors, we are all stakeholders, and we all need to do our part." This afternoon, we should all be very proud as we're indeed doing our part. Our work in the present, through the revitalization of this building and the creation of a campus with our new Eli on Black Lifelong Learning Center, enhances the vibrancy of our community and paves the way for the future. This project has been a 6+ year endeavor with dozens of volunteers and staff working together to make this a reality. In the words of Rabbi Joshua Abram Heschel, every deed counts. Our printed program lists the enormous number of people to whom we are grateful today. And while I wish I could publicly acknowledge every deed, knowing that is not feasible, I want to highlight some. With tremendous effort and focus by our Space Steering Committee, with co-chairs Craig Solomon and Jackie Weedman, along with Executive Director Beryl Chernoff, we were able to complete this project in record time with a standard of excellence. Thank you, Craig and team. The larger the aspirations of the Space Committee, the greater their need for an even more ambitious capital campaign. By any measure, our capital campaign, A Synagogue in Action, Building the Future, has been successful. With an astounding 97% participation, we have raised $96 million. Thank you, Andrew Van Lustig, for leading our capital campaign. You are a force of nature, and your wisdom and perseverance has allowed us to dream big. Thank you to our development team, Hadley Rolfe and Lena Miller, as well as Laurie Amner. We thank our devoted officers, immediate past officers led by our visionary past chairman, Art Penn, past president, Paul Corwin, Heidi Silverstone, Mel Schweitzer, Jeannie Rosensaft, and Andy. Your hard work provided the stepping stones for our current officers, President Natalie Barth, Lizzie Marcus, Nan Rubin, Mark First, Mark Hirsch, Craig, and our Rededication co-chair, Amy Steiner. Toda Rabbah for your partnership. Every one of our staff members has been involved in getting us to this moment. Thank you all for your hard work, passion, and never-ending loyalty to our community. And thank you, Beryl and Liz Offenbach, for your partnership and leadership. And we have tremendous gratitude for our clergy, led by Rabbi Cosgrove and Kendra Schwartz. Your spiritual vision has been the heart and soul of everything we do, has inspired us to make bold decisions for our future. And thank you all for making this campaign and project a huge success. Over the last 2 months leading up to this evening, we've rededicated ourselves to 8 core Jewish values. It has been the steadfast commitment to these values that make us who we are today and what our predecessors were working towards. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs once said, "We achieve greatness by handing our values on to the next generation and empowering them to go and build the future." Today, we are doing this both literally and figuratively. Today is the culmination of our community's ambitious aspirations for ourselves and the generations to come. Thank you for believing in each other, and thank you for believing in Park Avenue Synagogue. There's no family that embodies today's L'Ador V'Ador moment more perfectly than the Hess family. So with great pleasure, I welcome to the stage a true mensch, an honorary co-chair of our capital campaign, John Hess.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations to everyone. It's a remarkable achievement, and everyone should be very proud for the extraordinary, successful campaign to rebuild and today rededicate the 87th Street building. After months of demolition and disruption, we're so happy to say the building is finally finished. As the rabbi will tell you, the term dust to dust has taken a whole new meaning. Glad I got a little laugh out of that. My family and I are so honored to be here today. We're so fortunate to have been part of this beautiful synagogue for 3 generations. And now with a 1-year-old grandson and 2 more grandchildren on the way, we're truly blessed to be positioned and blessed to be here for a 4th generation. This synagogue is so important to us to remember who we are as a people, our Jewish identity. For thousands of years, we as Jews searched for our home, where we would be safe and welcome. Going back to the time of Exodus from Egypt, the pogroms of 1880s, and the Holocaust, each one of our families has a story of how we got here. This story, unfortunately, in most cases is incomplete. Like many of you, my wife Susan and I do not know who our great-grandparents were. And while we may not know who our family's individual story, we're so grateful to have Park Avenue Synagogue as our spiritual home, where we belong and come together to know our larger story, our Jewish story. This synagogue is an important part of my family's story, from generation to generation, Lador Vador. My parents joined the congregation during the time of Rabbi Nadich and Cantor Putterman. It was also at that time, I was up here on this bima and I had my bar mitzvah, and I have to say I was nervous then. I'm a little nervous now. During the time of Rabbi Lincoln and Cantor Lefkowitz, we had the b'nai mitzvahs of our 3 sons who are here, Michael, David, and William. And we also had my father's funeral in this sanctuary, and we're so happy to have Rabbi Lincoln with us, who has done so much for the synagogue. A round of applause, please. During the time of Rabbi Cosgrove and Cantor Schwartz, we had my mother's funeral here. In fact, the first time our family met Rabbi Cosgrove was for my mother's funeral, a difficult time for all of us. But he officiated brilliantly with heartfelt compassion that touched our hearts, and we have been friends ever since. Thank you, Rabbi. Also, Rabbi Cosgrove recently officiated at our son Michael's wedding to his wife Misha, and Rabbi Zuckerman officiated at our son David's wedding to his wife Erica. There's one last story I would like to share with all of you. There have been so many wonderful, talented people here at Park Avenue Synagogue. The one I would like to remember is Vivian Finkel. She was bigger than life. We can give her a hand of applause. She was bigger than life. She was a teacher to young and old, and she taught us the importance of Jewish traditions and Jewish faith in our lives. She taught me my Hebrew before my bar mitzvah, and we were very blessed that she prepared each of our sons, an experience they'll always remember, for their bar mitzvahs. At the time our oldest son, Michael, was about to have his bar mitzvah, my father was dying. My wife, Susan, and I were asking ourselves what was the right thing to do, when to mourn, when to celebrate. And I'll never forget what Vivian said to me. She said, "John, there is a day for you to be a father, and there is a day for you to be a son. This is the time for you to be a father." That Park Avenue Synagogue wisdom is something Talmudic, something passed from generation to generation, Lador Vador. And that is what we are doing today. We are passing something down from generation to generation. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Susan. And thank you to the entire Hess family for your continued leadership and support. As president of Park Avenue Synagogue, I am honored to share this proclamation that was presented by New York City Council member Keith Powers in tribute to the rededication of our 87th Street building. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue has been a place of Jewish worship and study on the Upper East Side for 137 years, growing from modest beginnings in 1882 to a significant 21st century religious and cultural institution. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue is dedicated to inspiring, educating, and supporting its members toward living passion-filled Jewish lives. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue is committed to welcoming and including all who choose to be part of its community. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue is a leading congregation of the conservative movement of Judaism. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue actively pursues interfaith understanding and friendship with other faith communities. Whereas Park Avenue Synagogue is a New York City architectural landmark with the cast stone facade of its 1927 Moorish-style sanctuary, the Mankato limestone facade of its 1980 Shapiro House, and the 2017 expansion of its campus to adjacent neo-Renaissance-style townhouses on East 89th Street. Be it known that the New York City Council honors Park Avenue Synagogue in celebration of the rededication of the 87th Street building, signed this 8th day of December in the year 2019 by Keith Powers, Council Member, 4th District, Manhattan.
For generations, Park Avenue Synagogue has been a home, as we say in Hebrew, a bait, Bet Knesset, a house of community, Bet Midrash, a house of learning, and Bet Tfilah, a house of worship. We thank our friends Noah Aronson and Abigail Pogrebin for writing this song, Home, in honor of our new home.
Some mornings, clouds descend. Life tests us, the burnings won't end. When troubles mount, till we lost count, we're not alone. Whenever we're with you, we're home. When I'm with you, I treasure peace I can't begin to measure. You're my sweet devotion. Please help me keep the endless motion. You're my room with a view. You're my table for two. I hold you the way that you held me. When I'm with you, I am home. I'm not alone anymore. When I'm with you, I am home. Now I feel known at your door. בזה השער לא יבוא צר, בזאת הדירה לא תבוא צרה, בזאת הדלת לא תבוא בעלה, בזאת המחלקה לא תבוא מחלוקת. Light brightens in your air, love heightens with spring on breath.
When time slows down while the world spins round, I will always know
Mazel Tov, Park Avenue Synagogue. The Talmud asks a question of this month's upcoming Festival of Lights that is as basic as it is essential. My Hanukkah, what is Hanukkah? Hanukkah, explains the rabbis, means rededication, recalling when the Maccabees, having defeated their Greek oppressors, entered the temple to rededicate it in service to God. Like our ancestors of old, like our congregation's founders who crossed the threshold together in the 1880s as we have reenacted today, like our intrepid leaders who laid the cornerstone of this building in 1927, like our bold forerunners who established the Steinberg House in 1954, like our courageous predecessors who built the Rita and George Shapiro House of 1980. Today, we, the present members of Park Avenue Synagogue, make claim to our Hanukkah, our rededication of this sacred space, which together with the Eli M. Black Lifelong Learning Center will serve the hopes and dreams of our community, present and future. Yes, Hanukkah means rededication, but as the Talmud explains, as any of our congregational students will tell you, the story of Hanukkah is not just about a physical building. It's about a miracle, specifically a miracle of oil. When Judah Maccabee and his band of brothers entered that structure in such need of renewal and found a single cruse of oil with the seal of the high priest, not nearly enough for the task at hand. What they lacked for in oil, though, they more than made up for in faith. Faith in themselves, faith in their God, and faith in the Jewish future. And that one day became two, which became three, one day after the next, one light after another, the flame shining brighter and brighter, more and more people pitching in, one after the other, everyone doing their part, each person inspired by their neighbor, doing what they could do until that temple stood worthy of God's presence. And that, explains the Talmud, is what the miracle of Hanukkah was, and that is what the miracle of Hanukkah has been throughout the ages. Whenever a Jewish community has worked collectively to secure our people's future, and that is the recurring miracle of our community in 1882, in 1927, in 1954, in 1980, and right here today. Today's celebrations reflect over 5 years of vision and hard work of dedicated professionals and lay leaders. Today's celebrations reflect the cumulative efforts of some 137 years of congregational history. But most of all, today's celebrations reflect the efforts of each and every one of you in this sanctuary, up on the 3rd floor, watching us on live stream, and maybe even standing on the streets. The present membership of Park Avenue Synagogue, who by way of your faith, your love of our people in this community, and your commitment to our shared future, have made today's miracle possible. As with that first Hanukkah, our story began with a single cruse of oil, adorned with the seal not of the high priest, but of Hess. Truth be told, that cruse of oil wasn't so small. But its real importance was in being the very first. As the rabbis teach, Tov Shem Tov Mishemen Tov, a good name is more valuable than fine oil. Just as a 1980 building was only possible by way of the good name, the Shem Tov, of Leon and Norma Hess of blessed memory, so too it is a good name of John and Susan Hess that has served to inspire so many others to follow their lead. To Susan and John, may your home, the home of your children and your grandchildren, be blessed with all good things as you have blessed our community. I'm so very grateful to you and your constant friendship that spans the generations. And in the presence of Leon and Deborah Black, David and Jackie Simon, and Ralph and Ricky Lauren, at least in spirit. Thank you to each one of you and your families who, as co-chairs together with John and Susan, have lent your good names and your support to inspire so many others towards this effort to transform the physical footprint of our community. From our campaign chairs to our campaign committee to the membership of this congregation, 97%, like the temple of old, drop by drop, hour by hour, day by day, meeting to meeting, people pinching in through time, talent, and treasure. Today is here. Let that fact sink in. Breathe in that feeling. Enjoy it. If we are lucky, a day like this happens once in a lifetime. And that moment, friends, is here and now. The wonders of what a community can accomplish when they work together towards a shared goal. Enjoy the feeling, and in the years ahead, retrieve it every time you cross the threshold of our building, reciting the words of Ma Tovu, now inscribed forever on the corner of 87th and Madison. It may not be the crossing of the sea or the sun standing still, but make no mistake, the Hanukkah miracle of today, made possible by way of your hands, is altogether worthy of God's blessing. But let me tell you the most important thing about today, about the feeling you have, that I have, that we all have inside of us in this hour. We've created something extraordinary, a physical building, but that is just the beginning. The book of Proverbs teaches that the soul of a person is the light of God. In other words, there is a divine spark within us all, an internal and eternal spark, which when joined with others can do remarkable things. Today is about a building, but tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that, those divine sparks can be made manifest and leveraged towards building the shared spiritual architecture of this community. We can sign up for classes, we can come to Shabbat services, we can perform deeds of kindness, we can light Shabbos candles, we can go to Minyan, make hospital visits to the sick, we can feed the hungry, do mitzvot, commit to the needs of the Jewish people, of Israel, and our shared humanity. We can be the Jews and the Jewish community we aspire to be, and this synagogue can lead the charge for American Jewry. If we can build this building together, just think about what we can accomplish if we continue to pool together the most valuable thing each one of us possess, the Pintel Yid, that divine spark within. The mission of this synagogue is to inspire, educate, and support our membership towards living passion-filled Jewish lives, and we are just getting started. Ultimately, friends, the success of this building rededication will be measured not in today's festivities, but whether our future selves and future generations will prove worthy of the commitments affirmed in this sacred hour. What is Hanukkah? Hanukkah means rededication. To this synagogue as a house of prayer, house of learning, and house of community, of course. A rededication to the values of Tikkun Olam, memory, peoplehood, worship, Jewish culture, learning, Israel, and community? Absolutely. But most of all, Hanukkah is a rededication to the proposition that there is no limit to the wonders of what we can achieve when we work together towards achieving a shared vision. Today, a building. Tomorrow, so many dreams to realize. Again and again, and into the years ahead, may we be blessed to cross the threshold of our shared potential together. Amen. Let's open up our program booklets. We are on page 11. With gratitude for all that is good in our lives and a commitment to bring more good into this world, we rededicate ourselves to these 8 core Jewish values. May they illuminate our new campus and light the way to our future.
Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, enhancing the world through acts of kindness helps us to build a better future for all. Blessed is the one who calls us to heal the brokenness of this world. All together, as it is written in your Torah, let justice well up like water, righteousness like a mighty stream.
Zachor, memory. Remembering our past, both our triumphs and tragedies, is important and serves as a call to action for shaping our future. Blessed is the one who remembers us and the deeds of our ancestors. Together, as it is written in your Torah, I will always remember the covenant I made with you in the days of your youth, and will establish it with you that it may last forever.
Klal Israel, peoplehood. Appreciating that we are part of a worldwide Jewish community affirms our responsibility to all Jews and to the multiple narratives of our story. Blessed is the one who allows us to connect with one another across distance and difference.
Together.
As it is written in your Torah, the one who has scattered Israel will gather them. God will keep them as a shepherd guards their flock.
Tefillah, worship and prayer. Engaging in prayer and worship spiritually connects us to God, community, and tradition, enabling us to express our hopes and dreams. Blessed is the one who enables us to encounter the sacred every day. Together, as it is written in your Torah, O God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Tarbut, music and art, expressing our souls through Jewish music and art, creates intergenerational connections, enhances our experiences, and inspires our futures. Blessed is the one who endows us with the spark of creativity. Together, as it is written in your Torah, sing to God a new song, sing to God all the earth.
Limud, lifelong learning. Engaging in lifelong learning enriches our Jewish experience, adds meaning to our lives, and enables us to impact the world more profoundly. Blessed is the one who gives us the ability and opportunity to learn new things. Together, as it is written in your Torah, let your mind hold on to my words. Keep my commandments, and you will live. Acquire knowledge, gain understanding.
Zionut, Zionism, connecting to Israel encourages us to appreciate our historic homeland and vibrant future. Blessed is the one who has kept the promise of redemption. Together, as it is written in your Torah, see, I have given you this land that is before you. Go and inherit that which God promised in our ancestors.
Kehillah, community. Building community strengthens our interpersonal connections, and sustains our reciprocal obligations to support each other. Blessed is the one who brings us together in times of hardship and moments of celebration together. As it is written in your Torah, behold how good and pleasant it is for people to live in unity.
Hineni muchan u'mezuman.
Let us read together.
Here we are, present and prepared to rededicate ourselves to the values of repairing the world. Memory, peoplehood, worship and prayer, music and art, lifelong learning, Israel and community. May our words and actions make this community a Kehillah Kadosha, a place where the sacred is encountered every day. And let us say, Amen.
On the entrance of this building, we recognize that it is upon us to carry out the sacred words that are inscribed inside of it, to love God and each other with our entire heart, all of our spirit, and to the best of our abilities. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu likboah mezuzah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all things, who sanctifies us through holy action by commanding us to affix this mezuzah.
May this building be a Beit Knesset, a place where people gather in times of mourning and in times of joy. May this building be a Beit Midrash, a place where people learn from our rich history so they can step boldly into the future. May this building be a Beit Tefillah, a place where people encounter the sacred through text, through music, and through each other.
פיתחו לי שערי צדק, אבובה מודיה, זה השער לאדוני, צדיקים יבואו בו.
Open for me the gates of righteousness, I will enter them to thank God. This is a holy gateway through which those who seek what is good may enter.
Friends, we are blessed. We are blessed to be here this afternoon, and we truly have so much to be grateful for. We want to take a moment and recognize those blessings. If this will be your first time, because I know many of you entered through 87th Street, if this will be your first time seeing our revitalized 87th Street campus, I ask you to please rise, and you can remain standing. That's it? That's the only one? If you are part of the professional team who stood outside this building on that September morning when we re-entered this space, wondering if this day would ever come, I invite you to please rise. If you were part of the capital campaign or building committees, giving hundreds of hours of your time in order for us to reach this moment, please rise. If you participated in making a donation to the capital campaign, we thank you and we ask you to please rise. And finally, if you arrived here just because you heard there's going to be a fabulous kiddush downstairs, then please rise. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sustained us, who has given us strength, and who has enabled us to reach this moment together.
Baruch
שקיים